Hi, I am Mariola and I'm a postdoc at the Penn Center of Neuroaesthetics. So for the most of my career, I was interested in morality, which means I was interested in how people perceive what is good, what is bad, what is right or what is wrong. But at some stage, I decided to also study beauty and attractivenesses. And it was because of Anjan, of course. I joined the lab. We had a plan that we're gonna combine our interests, which means combine my morality interest and his beauty interest. And we just found out that we have a lot of topics to study, as these values are really, really related. And this is, I'm even, shocked how much they are related. I thought at the beginning that these would be two separate constructs, but now I see that, beauty depends on morality and morality depends on beauty. Here we can talk about two types of stereotypes. One is that beauty is good, which means that we tend to perceive more attractive, more beautiful people as more good inside, more moral. And the other stereotype is the anomalous is bad, which means that we tend to think that people with facial anomalies like scars, they are morally bad inside. And in the lab, I was interested in understanding these phenomena, also not only to prove that they exist, specifically the anomalous is bad phenomenon, which is in interest of our labs for a few years now, but also I was interested in psychological traits of the readers, so of our participants, like who is more sensitive to these stereotypes and who is less sensitive. We can be better as people, and that awareness of these stereotypes can help us prevent just following them in our everyday lives. And I also see that even in my private life, I stopped doing this. Like when I meet someone, I sometimes have some thoughts about that person, but then I feel like, wait, stop. I don't want to do it. Like I have no knowledge about this person. I have no idea whether this person is nice or competent. Understanding that everyone does it, right? It's maybe the first step, or the first stage to stop it. Yeah, I feel that this is kind of a new area of study. In the past, usually people focused just on morality, being a moral psychologist, or they usually focus on aesthetics, being just an aesthetic psychologist. But now we see that these two fields are closely related, and it's just the beginning of this kind of an area, and we need to do more studies in the future. Before coming to the postdoc, I was conducting a few experimental studies in Europe on how alcohol may impact moral functioning of people. But when being in the lab, I also were curious wherever alcohol may impact the beauty judgments about paintings or faces. And we recently also finished a study on this topic. We are still analyzing the data, but they are promising. So yeah, I just analyzed them an hour before. I'm excited. But also, like when being in the lab, I realized that we still have a gap in the knowledge on how alcohol impacts our everyday decisions, especially just drinking one alcoholic drink, which is very popular in many countries. So after my postdoc, I want to study not only the alcohol and how it impacts our value, but I also would love to continue on the effect ugly is bad and bad is ugly. Still, we had some nice results, but I have this feeling that we can find much more. For instance, in the study in which we showed that the morality of the artists impact the assessment of beauty of their paintings, I'm really interested wherever it would be similar for various immoral behaviors. In this study, we only focus on very serious immoral behaviors like murders or killing a lot of people. But would the effect be still the same if we would talk about stealing or maybe rape or other some kind of a scandals we hear sometimes today in social media, right? So does this kind of immoral behaviors matter for the beauty judgments of the art? I would really love to study. So I applied for the grant on moral and aesthetic values, and I won it. It's the grant from the National Science Center in Poland. This is a huge grant for money which helped me to conduct research for the next 5 years after I finish my postdoc. And we're gonna do a lot of experimental studies on the impact of alcohol on values, also doing physiological measures. But also I would love to study cross-cultural differences in aesthetic experience and how aesthetic experience impact well-being and, for example, may prevent depression or some anxiety. I believe these are the topics we still need to answer in terms of the practical implications which we should give to people from different countries. Still, a lot of studies in aesthetics are done in 1 or 2 countries at the same time, and we have no idea wherever the results would be replicated in other countries. So how we can give people recommendations about to stay positive or highlight your quality of life? We don't know that. We just need to still do these studies in the future. I love the culture of the lab. I love that we meet every week and we talk for at least 2 hours. We talk what we've done in the past week. We can share our successes, but also our problems. I also like the fact that we meet outside the lab, so it's like being part of the family. We sometimes meet during the weekends, or we just hang out and, sometimes we just eat supper together or dinner, which is great. It is something that I've never experienced in my life in the past, and this is something definitely I would love to do in the future when having my own lab, just to be a close group of people who just have not only similar interest in research, but they also share their life together. That was really amazing.